the colorful, yummy world of Candy Monster's kitchen, an adventure was about to pop. Candy Monster, a big, fluffy creature with a heart as sweet as his tooth, was getting ready for movie night. His best friends, a cheerful bunch of fruits, Benny the banana, Sally the strawberry, and Andy the apple were all gathered around. The plan to make the biggest bowl of popcorn ever. Candy Monster poured a mountain of kernels into the popcorn machine. Benny Banana, ever the cautious one, asked, "Isn't that a little too much?" Candy Monster just chuckled, "Nonsense! There's no such thing as too much popcorn." He flipped the switch. The machine whirred, it hummed, and then it began to shake. A tiny pop, then another, then 100, pop, pop, pop. Suddenly, the lid of the machine flew off. A river of fluffy, buttery popcorn erupted into the air, creating a giant, crunchy volcano. Popcorn rained down everywhere, covering the floor, the counters, and the silly, giggling fruits. It was a popcorn blizzard. Popcorn avalanche! Shouted Sally the strawberry, doing a little dance in the fluffy piles. They all laughed, throwing popcorn at each other. After the popcorn storm settled, it was time to clean up. They swept and scooped, but it seemed for every piece of popcorn they picked up, another appeared. Just as they were finishing, Candy Monster spotted something strange. Under the toaster, one single kernel of popcorn sat all by itself. But this was no ordinary kernel. It shimmered with a rainbow light, and as Candy Monster reached for it, it wiggled. With a tiny squeak, the kernel sprouted to little arms and to little legs. It hopped up, did a little jig, and winked one of its buttery eyes. "A popcorn pal!" gasped Andy the apple. The magical popcorn pal didn't say a word, but it zipped across the floor, leaving a sparkling trail. It beckoned for them to follow, and with a shared look of excitement, Candy Monster and the fruits gave chase. The chase was on. The speedy little popcorn pal scurried across the kitchen tiles, leading them on a merry dash. It dodged under chairs and zoomed around table legs. It was faster than anyone expected. Benny the banana almost slipped on a drop of water, but Sally the strawberry caught him just in time. The popcorn pal wasn't just running, it was leading them somewhere specific. It ran straight towards the spice rack on the counter. "Where's it going?" panted Candy Monster, his fluffy fur bouncing with every step. The popcorn pal didn't slow down. It reached the wooden spice rack and, instead of going around it, it slipped right through a tiny crack between the cinnamon and the paprika jars. Poof! It was gone! The friends skidded to a halt. "Did you see that?" asked Dandy. They peered into the darkness behind the rack. The air smelled sweet, like sugar and honey. With a gentle push from Candy Monster, the spice rack swung open like a secret door, revealing a breathtaking sight. Behind it wasn't a dusty wall, but a vibrant, glowing kingdom. There were towers made of candy canes, castles built from gingerbread, and rivers of sparkling chocolate flowing through valleys of gummy bears. Little sugar cube citizens waved from their lollipop lampposts. This was the Candy Kingdom. The popcorn pal was waiting for them at the entrance, bouncing with excitement. It led them down a path paved with jelly beans. They passed a forest of rock candy trees and waved at marshmallow clouds floating lazily overhead. The ruler of this land, King Licorice, sat on a throne of jawbreakers. He welcomed them with a booming laugh and offered them a tour of his sweet domain. They tasted caramel from a fountain and slid down a slide made of pure fudge. It was a dream come true for a creature named Candy Monster. After saying their goodbyes to the Candy Kingdom, the popcorn pal was on the move again. It scurried out from behind the spice rack and made a beeline for the kitchen sink. Not the sink! cried Sally. "We'll get all wet." But their little guide didn't hesitate. It leaped onto the faucet, slid down the spout, and landed with a tiny splash right next to the drain. It swam in a circle, beckoning them to join. Hesitantly, Candy Monster and the fruits peered over the edge. As they looked into the water, the sink seemed to grow deeper and deeper. The drain transformed into a swirling, magical whirlpool. Bubbles rose to the surface, carrying the scent of a fresh, clean ocean. Taking a deep breath, they slid down the side of the sink and plunged into the shimmering water. Instead of a boring sink, they found themselves in a magnificent underwater world. Sunlight filtered through the water, creating dancing patterns on the sandy bottom. Sponges looked like giant, colorful coral reefs, and a bar of soap became a majestic white whale gliding gracefully past. Dish brushes swayed like sea anemones. Silverware, long lost at the bottom, glinted like sunken treasure. The Popcorn Pals swam happily, leading them through this amazing aquatic paradise. They even met a friendly family of rubber ducks who showed them the way through a cave made from an overturned mug. After their underwater exploration, they climbed out of the sink, dripping but amazed. Their popcorn pal shook itself dry and then pointed a tiny popcorn arm towards the windowsill. There, a collection of Mom's herb pots sat in a neat row. It looked like a tiny, green jungle. The popcorn pal leaped from the counter, landing softly on a large basil leaf. It then disappeared among the stems and leaves. Curious as ever, the friends followed. They climbed up onto the windowsill and stepped into the herb garden. Instantly, they felt like they had shrunk. The parsley plants towered over them like giant trees, and the rosemary bushes formed a dense, fragrant forest. The air was filled with the wonderful smells of mint, thyme, and oregano. Tiny dewdrops on the leaves sparkled like diamonds in the morning sun. This was the herb jungle. They followed the popcorn pal's sparkling trail through the dense greenery. They had to swing on mint stems to cross tiny gaps and climb over what felt like mountains of soil. They saw ladybugs marching like soldiers and busy ants carrying crumbs back to their homes. It was a bustling, hidden world they had never noticed before. The popcorn pal led them to the very center of the jungle, where a single, beautiful chamomile flower was in full bloom. The popcorn pal gently touched one of the chamomile petals. The flower began to glow with a warm, golden light. A soft, calming energy washed over Candy Monster and the fruits. They suddenly felt very sleepy. All the running and excitement of the day had tired them out. The popcorn pal cuddled up next to Candy Monster's fluffy leg, its rainbow shimmer fading into a soft, buttery glow. Slowly, the magic of the herb jungle receded. They weren't tiny explorers anymore. They were just Candy Monster and his fruit friends sitting by the herb pots on the windowsill. The popcorn pal had become just a regular piece of popcorn again, though it still seemed to have a friendly smile. The adventures were over for the day. Candy Monster carefully picked up the special popcorn along with Benny, Sally, and Andy, and they all headed back to the living room. The popcorn volcano mess was a distant memory. They snuggled up on the couch, finally ready for their movie. Candy Monster placed the special popcorn piece on the table in front of them, a souvenir from their incredible journey. As the movie started, they all smiled, knowing their kitchen was more magical than they ever could have imagined. Thanks for watching our story. Don't forget to follow for more adventures.